r/AskReddit. People of Reddit, what is a surprisingly unknown survival fact that everyone should know? If you somehow are in a situation where you feel like you could drown and have no energy to go on, turn on your back and do the backstroke. Saved my life while at the beach last week after getting sucked out by rip current. Float for your life. I used to teach swimming, and for people who aren't comfortable floating, focus on keeping your belly up, like a balloon full of air. If you spread out your arms, it might make things easier. If you can't fully backstroke, because maybe you can't stay on top of the water well enough, or you can't extend your arms like that, swim like a frog by lifting your arms above your head and then pushing them back towards your body. Think jumping jacks. During the winter, it is way better to be slightly cold than it is to sweat. If you start to sweat, you can go hypothermic way faster. Reminds me of a quote from Bear Grylls. I need to work quickly before hypothermia sets in. But not too quickly, because then I'll start to sweat, the sweat will freeze, and then hypothermia sets in. When wild camping and hiking in Scotland, some Dutch outdoor guy told us to always keep tampons to start a fire. He was so right. In a wet environment where all the leaves and branches are moist and the wind blows like crazy, we sometimes needed 5 hours to start a fire, and we needed the fire to at least have a warm meal in the night. They're the best fire starter. They're lightweight and tiny, easy to carry. You can pull them apart and there's a lot of easily burning material that you can use as a fire starter. They also frequently come in sealed plastic wrappers, so are basically waterproof. Well, now I extra don't want to be in a fire while on my period. Just tuck the wick in. Fuse. Pack a whistle. There's no chance your voice will hold out yelling at the top of your lungs, and whistles carry long distances. Especially handy if you've injured yourself and need to rely on others finding you. SOS in Morse code is so 3 short blasts, 3 longer ones, 3 short, pause, and repeat. This is an especially handy and harmless device to give kids that are along for a hike, along with, if you get separated, stop walking and blow the whistle lots, and we'll come to you. In general, signals in groups of 3 are signs that you need help. Anything that's clearly not natural counts. That could be piles of rocks, signal fires, strips of cloth tied to a tree, etc. Obviously you want it to be visible, audible to whoever might be searching for you. But the group of 3 means that it's not an accident or a coincidence, and so draws attention. If you get stuck in your car in the snow, stay with your vehicle. Hypothermia makes you delirious and you can wander the wrong direction and freeze to death. Your vehicle is also a lot easier to locate than you are. When I was younger and traveled a lot, a friend from Minnesota told me to keep an unopened bottle of water, a blanket, matches, candle and a rope in the car during the winter months. A wax candle will provide enough heat to keep the car warm enough to survive with the blanket around you. Tie the rope to the car if you get out to relieve yourself, that way you can find your way back by following the rope. If snowing. Water, well that is obvious. Canadian here, I do the same. I also my sleeping bag leaves in my trunk during winter. Also super convenient if you need to crash on a couch after a party. The other thing is to make sure the car exhaust is clear. If you keep the car running you may very well kill yourself by carbon monoxide otherwise. Also, if there is an empty bottle you can pee in it and use it for warmth for a while. Same with the sleeping bag. I also keep my small single burner camp stove and my camp pot with 2 gas canisters and some of those freeze-dried meals in a bag. I've heard too many stories about people living off of hot sauce packets and whatnot when trapped with their car. When they find me I'll be sleeping off a nice beef stroganoff. Careful with the burner though, it's possible to use up all the oxygen in a closed up space and suffocate yourself. Source. Almost died to this when I was younger. Air got thin so I left the building, came back and stayed in the room for about 10 seconds before I realized I wasn't breathing anything I could breathe. If I had gone to sleep like I was planning I wouldn't have woken up. Just because you're drinking water doesn't mean you're safe. You need to take in salt as well. I've seen this kick people's asses big time. They drink and drink and drink water, but still overheat. throw up, pass out, because they didn't take in any salt or electrolytes. I didn't learn until I started taking holidays to hotter places than normal that I can be quite sensitive to the heat. I thought I was doing a good job looking after myself and drinking plenty of water, but 2 holidays in a row I ended up throwing up from the heat and honestly feeling pretty itty. After the second time I did a bit of research how to better look after myself again. I was drinking plenty of water so I wasn't dehydrated, and found out that throwing up from the heat can be a symptom of drinking too much water without replenishing the salts. Started making sure to drink things like Gatorade and adding little sport salts replenishment to my water and haven't had a problem since. If you are drinking plenty of water, but still showing signs of dehydration, headache, fatigue, muscle aches, blurred vision, stumbling around, you may be low on electrolytes. Salty foods can really help with this, but oral rehydration salts such as Pedialyte work even better and should probably be in more people's backpacks. Disclaimer: those symptoms aren't limited to dehydration and can also occur due to heat exhaustion, hypothermia, or altitude sickness. You just solved a big problem for me. Holy shit. I forgot about my salts. Drip drop. It's like Pedialyte balanced for adults. I drink it in the backcountry, after long runs, or when I make pool decisions regarding whiskey. It helps so much. Barrel cactus in the Sonoran Desert are not full of water as is commonly portrayed. Instead they are full of acidic solutions that induce vomiting and diarrhea if consumed. These can easily be fatal for a dehydrated person in the desert. The barrel cactus fruit, by contrast, is one of the most agreeable edibles in the cactus world. They are easy to pick, thornless, and tasty. I was led to believe that you should drink cactus juice. It'll quench you. Nothing's quencher, and it's the quenchiest. If you drink it, you'll see a friendly giant mushroom. Mushy giant friend. If you are lost in the wilderness, if you have shelter and a source of water, and if you have reason to believe people will be looking for you, you are usually better to stay put than to try to find your way out. Wandering around lost, you expend a lot of energy. You could easily get into a far worse situation, and anyone looking for you will likely start at your last known or expected location, which, if you are lost, you might be wandering farther from. This is not always the case. It depends on if you are injured or not, and the nature of the injuries, on your relative safety where you are at, how far you are relative to your expected or last known location, how visible you are, and a number of other situational factors. It is often worth a low risk climb to a better vantage point if possible. People have died a few hundred meters from a road which could have led them to safety. I've participated in a number of lost personnel searches. This is very good advice. If they know what area you were in, they'll simply grid it off and start doing line searches. If you stay stationary, they will find you. If you move around, you could move out of the search area or into an area they've already searched. Stay your ass in one spot if you want to live. You can squeeze relatively safe water out of moss. Obviously you should still boil it, and it's going to have some dirt, but way better than drinking out of a stream or puddle. The amount of research I've done on moss for my thesis proves that this is indeed a safe method. You seem like you have an interesting doctorate. What was the subject of your thesis? This is my undergrad thesis. It's on bioreceptive architecture with moss as the bio. Long story, but fascinating. Look up Marcos Cruz's work on living architecture. And here we are. A random Tuesday night, almost midnight. And suddenly I'm interested in the undergrad thesis of a random passerby on whether to squeeze water from moss. I'm not even kidding. This is a subject that never passed my mind, but now I start wondering and I'm truly interested. What kinds of mosses are there? What are the risks? What other sources of water generally are nearby? Really interesting. Best of luck on your follow-up career. Not to spoil your fun or anything, but the reason moss water is safe to drink is because it's mostly the result of dew, that is, precipitation. Exposure and dehydration will frick you up much faster than hunger. Bring spare socks, your feet will rot if you don't. And making shelter is more than just a roof over your head. You'll lose more body heat to the ground than to the air. Proper bedding is just as if not more, important than having walls and a roof around you. Rule of threes. 3 minutes without air, you're dead. 3 hours exposed to extreme weather, you're dead. 3 days without water, you're dead. 3 weeks without food, you're dead. A mirror is the best way to signal for help. You can use the reflection of the sun directed at a boat or plane like your sibling would to annoy you. The proper way to use a mirror to signal for help is to hold up one hand with a peace sign and position it so that whatever you are trying to signal can be seen between your fingers. Then shine the light from the mirror on your fingers. This guarantees that whatever you are signaling can see the light. I need a random sketch guy to appear. Congrats, you've made it to the end. You're a beast. Like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit content. It's free, so why not just do it?